Welcome back to the program, folks. Okay, I wanted to answer a question that I get asked all the time, not necessarily from you guys, but just over the course of owning cars for 20, 25 years. People ask me this question all the time, and I give them the same answer, but I'm going to give you the answer that I give them so nobody has to ask it anymore. And the question is, why don't I track my cars? And the first reason I'm going to give you is, and this is really the most important reason, once I give it to you, you're going to say, wow, that doesn't make any sense. But after I explain it to you, it's going to make a whole lot of sense. The first reason why I don't track my cars is, number one, I don't own the right cars to track. Now, I know what you're saying. Chris, remember who you're talking to here. You're our boy. You can't pull this past this. You've got a Cayman, you've got an M3. Those are two of the most perfect track cars you could ever own. I mean, those cars are right out of central casting if you wanted to go tracking. And they are. But there is a problem. The cars that I own, the Cayman and the M3, they're too nice to track. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is the M3's got 18,000 miles on it. The Cayman has probably 43, 44,000 miles on it, but it looks like a car that's got 18 to 20,000 miles on it. Those cars in those conditions with that low mileage, those are not the kind of cars you want to go to the track with, or go to a high-performance driving school, or drive around through a Kmart parking lot, through a bunch of orange cones on a Saturday afternoon. You're asking for trouble. I'm asking for trouble if I do that. These cars are just too nice to go to the track with, to pick up all kinds of stone and rock chips and just the wear and tear on the cars, all that good stuff. They're not the right cars to do that. If I wanted to go to the track, I would get a car that's already kind of been beaten up a bit. And so if I get a few more scratches or rock chips on it, if it's not a perfect car to begin with, then it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference to me. You're not going to notice it. I can beat those cars up and they're not going to be any worse than probably when they started. So I don't own the right cars to go track with. And I'm not saying that that's a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying that it doesn't make any financial sense to take these kind of cars to the track with, because it's just going to cost me money. And I don't like spending money. The equity in these cars, a lot of it anyways, is in their condition and in their mileage. So if I want to go to the track, I'm going to have to buy another track car in order to do that. You know, I would rather take an 80 or 100,000 mile car, bought way at the low end of the market, not put a whole lot of money into it, and then take it to the track and just beat the living shit out of it. And then I don't have to worry about it. If it gets more stone chips or I crack a window or something like that, it's not a big deal. But with these cars, that's just way too much liability for me to be comfortable with. So that's reason number one. Okay, reason number two. Reason number two why I don't track my cars. It is really expensive. Okay, I mean, nobody ever seems to talk about that, and they kind of just gloss over like, well, you just take your car to the track and then that's that. Well, no, it's really expensive to do that stuff. And just because you have cars like these, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can afford it or even want to afford it. I mean, I have enough trouble just keeping these cars running, okay? That's expensive enough for me. So if you want to go to the track, you're going to have extra costs in tires and brakes and suspension and, you know, oils and transmission. All that stuff is going to take a beating by going to the track. And even if you're a weekend warrior and you do these high performance driving schools and all that stuff, you're still going to run into a bunch of expenses in order to do it. And it's not cheap. If you want to go to Mid-Ohio or Elkhart Lake or something like that, and you want to have a weekend event at the track, you're going to spend $400 or $500 for track fees for an entire weekend. You may need a hotel for a night or two. There's another couple $100 a night, or for 2 nights. You're going to have extra expenses for brakes. You're going to have to replace far more often. You can burn through a set of tires in 1 or 2 weekends at the track. I mean, the tires on the Cayman, those are just your street tires, and those are $2,000 a set. Okay. I don't have the money to go and buy a whole nother set of tires just for the track. That's expensive. And if you don't buy tires for the track, kind of what's the point of doing it? I mean, if you're going to drive your street tires to the track, you're at a competitive disadvantage anyways. And that's not like me to do that. If I'm going to do something, I want to do it 100%. So it's just really expensive to take your car to the track. You know, you might have to buy a suit, or you have to have a helmet. You've got to go through coursework and all this stuff. You know, you've got to have their tech sessions and stuff to be qualified to go and do that stuff. It's kind of a pain in the ass for me. And it's just not something that I have the time or expense that I want to devote in order to do that. So I prefer to just take my time and my money and keep the cars running good and keeping them as clean and as pristine as possible. So you combine that with buying low mileage cars in excellent condition, and my penchant for not wanting to spend money where I don't have to and going to the track doesn't make a whole lot of financial sense for me. So that's reason number 2. Okay, reason number 3, and this kind of goes with reason number 2, and it has to do with just the wear and tear you put on your car, is if you want to take your car to the track, okay, you've got basically 2 options. You can drive your car to the track and you can compete, or you can trailer your car to the track and you compete. Let's take the first one. Let's say you drive the car to the track. Well, first of all, for me, if I'm going to the track, I'm not running on my road tires. I'm going to have track-specific tires, okay? That means I've got to have something to take those tires with me to the track in order to change them at the track, in order to ride on them at the track, because obviously they're not going to be certified for the road. Okay, that means I'm going to have an SUV or a trailer or something like that to take those tires with me to the track, to put them on the car and drive them there. Okay, that's an expense that I don't have. I don't have the luxury of having another car in order to do that. I don't have a trailer. So if you want to invest in that stuff, you know, you can burn through another couple $1,000, you know, farting around with that in order to do it. I don't want to do that. So let's look at the other alternative. Okay, let's trailer the car to the track. You can keep your race tires on the car at your house, put the car on a trailer, then drive to the track and just race it there. You don't have to worry about changing tires or anything like that. Well, the problem with that is the expense is even more. Now you have to have a full trailer to put your car on, a truck or an SUV to drive to the track, take your car off the trailer, go ahead and drive it, put it back on the trailer and drive it home. I certainly do not have the money in order to do that. I don't have another car to do that. And most importantly, I don't have the space to do that. I'm out of space as it is. I don't have a place to park an extra car. I don't have a place to put a trailer. So by the time you combine all this stuff, you're just talking thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands of dollars, a whole bunch of other accommodations that have to be met. And for my lifestyle, where I live, I am maxed out on time and space and money as it is. So neither of those 2 options really work for me. The least expensive, obviously, would just be to somehow drive your car to the track and then somehow get your tires there. I suppose you could have a friend do that, but my friends are even lazier than I, so they would probably really necessitate a huge favor on my part to get them to do that, to take some tires to the track for me. So that's just not going to happen. It's not in the cars. If I want to go to the track, I'm going to have to take all my shit myself to do it, and that's just not going to happen. So that's reason number 3. Okay, reason number 4. I don't have any time. I don't have time to go to the track. I've got way too many other things that I'm doing that's going on in my life. I've got 3 or 4 jobs that I'm a private business owner. I'm in business for myself. So I've got 3 or 4 jobs that are full-time jobs. I've got 2 or 3 other hobbies that feel like full-time jobs at times. So I am completely maxed out on time. I do not have time to go to the track and spend several afternoons in the summertime or a weekend at the track, or to travel to go to specific tracks or get involved in any of that stuff. It's just not in the cards for my lifestyle. I've got way too many things going on. There's only so many things you can be involved in at one time. So for me, it's in most of the concoursing and the keeping the cars in great condition and all that stuff. I mean, as much time as I put into that, I'm spending as much or more time just doing that stuff as a lot of people spend going to the track. So you can't be everywhere all the time. There's only so much time in a day. There's only so many things that you can have your hands on. and something has to give at some point. So for me, I just don't have time to go to the track and have a lot of fun. And I'm sure those people are having a great time. It looks like a lot of fun, but you combine it with all the other reasons I've given you, there's just no time for me to do it and enjoy it. Okay, and the very last reason, the number 5 reason why I don't take my cars to the track, and this is kind of an important one, is I would like it too much. See, I'm smart enough to know that if I get my hands on something, I am going balls out, okay?
Oh.
If I'm going to do something, I'm either going to do it 100% or I'm not going to do it at all. You know, there's no try, do or do not, as Yoda says. So if I got involved in taking my cars to the track, I would want to be the absolute best track phenom I could possibly be. So if somebody else is spending $5,000 or $10,000 a year to mess with that bullshit in order to be really good at it, I'm going to spend whatever it takes to beat their ass. And so that is a problem. I've got to know my limitations, and thank goodness I do, because if I went to the track, I would think to myself, man, this is pretty cool. And I would start blowing through money really quick. It's not the kind of thing that I'm just going to get into and I'm going to dabble with on a weekend or two and drive through a few cones at the car club corral, out in the Kmart parking lot, where everybody just takes some time, you know, stopwatch times, and then has a barbecue afterwards. No, that's not going to be for me. If I'm going to get into it, I'm going to get into it up to my neck in it. And that's going to cost a lot of money on my part. That's just my personality. That's the way I do things. So I've got to be very careful about what I get my hands on and what I get into with all this car stuff, because it can blow a giant hole through my wallet really, really quick if I'm not careful, because I want to do everything to the best of my abilities. And so that's why just keeping the cars clean and keeping them running in good condition and all that good stuff, that takes so much time as it is. You know, you could spend 3 or 4 days just on one body panel of a car to keep it in absolute perfect showroom looking condition. So, and that's, for me, that's just sort of my therapeutic way of enjoying the cars. So I love going out and just hanging out with car people, going to car corrals, going to car shows, all that good stuff. But it's not inexpensive to do, to keep the cars running and looking good. It certainly is time prohibitive. So you add time prohibitive, cost prohibitive, all that other stuff. By the time you want to take cars to the track, I'm running out of money, folks. I mean, you know, there is not a bottomless pit of money in order to do all this stuff. So I've just got to be really careful about what I get involved with, because I know it can lead to some bad things if I get into it too deep, just knowing my personality. So I guess it's kind of like, you know, we ask somebody, well, you know, how do you stop smoking? Well, you don't start to begin with. So if you can get over that and you can figure out that, hey, maybe, you know, I understand my personality enough to know that if I got into these things, it would probably get me in a lot of trouble, financial trouble, then you're probably better off staying away from it. So those are my 5 main reasons why I don't track my cars. And that's not against anybody who does track their cars. More power to you. It looks like you're having a great time. And if you got the right cars to do it, it makes total perfect sense. But it's really hard to go to the track and have fun with that throughout the summer and keep your cars still looking like they're showroom new. In fact, I would say it's pretty much impossible to do, because as little as I drive some of these cars, at least the 930 and the M3, it's still almost impossible to keep them looking showroom new. And with the Cayman that I drive every day, it's nearly impossible. I'm doing it, but it's taking up a lot of my time in order to do it. So you've just got to pick and choose your battles, folks. You can't be everything to all people. You can't be everything to yourself. And some things just have to go. And for me, that's going to the track. And I'm sure track people look at people like me and say, well, you know, it doesn't make any sense, or you're wasting your time doing all that stuff. It's not about wasting time. It's just there is no time. You're out of time. At some point, you run out of time in order to enjoy all the things you want to enjoy. So you just have to pick and choose what's most important to you. So those are the 5 reasons why I don't track my cars. If you have any comments or questions about it, leave them in the comments section underneath the video. If you like this video, like it. If you didn't like it, then don't like it. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe today so you never miss an episode. Thanks for watching.